Arrow Season 3, Episode 4, The Magician. Definitely a great episode. It was probably a really pivotal episode for this season, especially with the decision Oliver decided to make towards the end of this, which was pretty insane. But overall, it was a really good episode. It extends the mystery of who killed Sara. We find out it wasn't Malcolm Merlyn, which I figured it wasn't simply because it didn't seem like he would come back just to kill her, and if he did, it seemed like he wouldn't come to Starling City just to kill her and then go back. But at the same time, he was in Starling City for whatever reason, and of course, it wasn't because of Thea. So now that's another mystery that I have in my head. Why did he come back to Starling City if it wasn't really to watch Thea? Because of course, Thea was in Corto Maltese. So I'm very curious as to what in the world he was really doing in Starling City. If he's just meeting other contacts, if so, what is he meeting these other contacts for? So I'm very curious if we'll even get an answer to that. They might kind of just skip over it and it's just a lie, but hopefully not. They give us a good reason as to why he decided to come back, because it's not just going to be like, I just really wanted to see the city and that's it. So hopefully we'll get an answer to that question that they kind of created in this episode. But I really enjoyed the involvement of all the different components in this one. We got to see Malcolm Merlyn in the city. We got our portion of the League of Assassins, and of course we had Team Arrow. So everything kind of blended together into just one really big storyline. And I'll get to the flashback stuff in a second, but that really interested me by the end of it. Like initially, I thought it just paralleled the stuff. I thought it was kind of going to be a parallel between Roy and Oliver, because it was how Oliver was following the one guy, and then it switched to Oliver being like the lead, and then Roy was following someone, and I thought that was going to be the parallel, and then it changed, and it didn't really even have a parallel to the main story, but I thought it was definitely interesting. Not as good as the main story, of course, but that's just how they do the flashbacks. We get little bits and pieces here and there, and either it correlates with the main story or it's just something really cool that'll probably come back in the present storyline, and technically it already did, so I'm excited for that. But the main storyline was really cool. I love the fight at the end. We got to see three different people, three different arrow users coming in, and they're all just hooded up with their bows and stuff and just fighting each other. That was pretty cool. And the whole thing about this episode was, of course, going after Merlyn, and there were kind of three separate things that were involved in that. It was like Oliver doesn't want to kill this guy because he's made a vow not to kill people anymore. Sara, of course, or Laurel wants him dead, of course, because of Sara. And then, like, everyone else, like, Diggle is kind of like the third option there. He was the only one who really voiced it, but everyone who wasn't 100% involved because they were really attached to the person, or specifically Sara, they kind of wanted Merlyn dead because he's Malcolm Merlyn. He was a pretty bad guy. Like, he was the villain of season 1, and he tried to destroy the entire city. So it was like no one really wanted him to really escape except for Oliver and Thea. And of course, Thea didn't really know that he was in any danger until she was in danger. So it was just really interesting to see Oliver kind of be against everyone else in this episode. And then he takes that to the utmost extremes in the end of this one, when he decides to put Malcolm Merlyn under his protection, and he started a war. And I never would have expected that's how the League of Assassins would come into this season. I didn't think they would be the enemy. I initially thought it would be because they were connected with Sara, and for some reason they would be following her into the city. And I guess technically they still are, but I didn't expect them to be like the big enemy, or maybe even one of the big enemies, because it seems like Malcolm Merlyn is, of course, a bad guy, so he's got something happening where he might be trying to get a one-up again. And then you have the League of Assassins, who are, of course, just a League of Assassins. That's just evil is in the title. And then you have, like, Amanda Waller, who is the main component of the flashbacks, but she does a lot of stuff that has affected everything up until now. So, we don't know yet who the real big bad is. I would have to assume it's the League of Assassins, though, because that's the big thing. Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, whichever way you want to pronounce it. He's coming into Starling City because Oliver has kind of declared war on them after this point. So I'm excited to see that play out, but I really loved the episode. The action was good, and we didn't have Felicity in this one because she was in Flash, I guess, at that specific time, and of course she just comes right back in at the end, like, what did I miss? So it was kind of cool to see it where They didn't have Felicity kind of doing some of the simple stuff, and they only kind of used that to their advantage in a jokey way, like towards the very end, and in the middle when they had Diggle use the tracking software, which I thought was really funny. And I was like, no, she said an idiot could do it, and he's like, I'm gonna really try to not take that very personally. So I thought that was funny. And another part I thought was funny with Diggle, and it wasn't meant to be funny, but it was when they were going and they ended up finding Merlin in the monastery. It was really funny because it's like everyone's in hoods and has arrows and stuff, and then it's just like Diggle's like the black guy with a handgun, and it was just funny to me like how much he kind of needs a mask. Like he should be able to hide his identity too, because everyone's got masks and hoods and all that, and he's the one who really stands out, and he's the only person who doesn't have like a mask or something to protect his identity. I don't think he needs like a full costume or anything, but it was just kind of funny. Like he's the only person who actually goes out because Felicity stays and she's like the base of operations. She does all the tech stuff, and then you have Roy and Oliver who go out. It's like the Hood and Arsenal or Arrow and Arsenal, and then you have Diggle and he's just a guy out there with a gun. Like he's an expert, and of course he's a great part of the team. But it's just funny how he's kind of just really out there when you think about it compared to Oliver, who could just easily go up to anyone and just start talking to him, trying to get information. Diggle couldn't possibly do that because it's just him. It's just Diggle talking to him. It's just this guy got me, and I see what he looks like, and I can get back at him. So that was something that kind of stood out to me when it's like three hooded people going in, and then it's just Diggle walking in there too. But I love this episode, and like I said, the flashbacks were really cool because, like I said, I thought initially that they would parallel the story, and by the end, it was just really cool how they connected everything back in season 1 and season 2, particularly season 1, when I believe it was towards the end of season 1 in the flashback state where Oliver was actually able to stop that flight from getting shot down by all those missiles. And we find out that all of that stuff, everything that actually happened on the island, was because of Amanda Waller. And that was crazy, a crazy little reveal that they had there where she was in control of all of that stuff. And it just makes her an even worse person in the series. Like you could tell that she's not really the good person. She's like sort of bad neutral, I guess, sort of bad good type of person. And her having that guy just kind of take over the whole island and do all this crazy stuff just makes her a worse character. And we find out why she was trying to blow up that plane, and it was because she was trying to get at a woman who we have seen, and I believe she was only in season 1. I think she made like a maybe like a 1 episode appearance in season 2 as well, but she was the reason that they were trying to blow up that plane. So it was really cool that they made a reference to that character because she's already been in the series. So it was like that was Oliver's real first connection with that character until he ran into her again as the Hood in season 1 and season 2. So I really love that, and I can't wait to get more on her character and how that affected kind of everything that happened with Argus and everything leading up to the current timeline and how all that stuff is going to play out. But overall, I thought it was a really cool episode. Love seeing Malcolm Merlyn in there because he's always like an enigma when it comes to being good and being bad, because he's clearly a villain for a lot of different reasons. And then in this episode, it was one of the times where you kind of see the lighter side where he didn't kill Sara and he was just trying to prove that in any way he could. And the best way he knew how was to say, I swear on my own daughter's life that I didn't do that. So it's one of those slightly lighter versions of him, but he's still like the bad guy. And he still comes in and it's like, he easily could have killed Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Nissa. He easily could have killed her if he wanted to, but instead he just kind of hit her up against the wall. And that was another really small thing. He could have easily done that, but he decided not to. And it's just like little things that Nissa probably doesn't give a crap about because she still thinks it's Merlin. But for us, the viewers, and maybe even for Oliver, that type of little tiny thing, considering it's Malcolm Merlyn, him not killing someone he easily had the drop on really will stand out to you. So it was little things like that I enjoyed, and of course the overall story, and they still have the mystery going. And even he kind of said, Malcolm mentioned like it could have still been Ra's al Ghul because she was kind of the one that took his daughter away. So it's just a full circle type of thing where we don't know who the heck killed her, and it could have been someone from the League of Assassins. It was someone she knew, of course. So whoever it is, they're gonna be in here at some point, but it's like the big mystery right now. And so I'm excited to that they just keep adding on. Like it could be this person, but then they seem really sincere. So I'm excited for how they're building up this mystery. And overall, I thought this was probably my favorite episode so far. But of course, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about this one. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And now that Ra's al Ghul has decided that Oliver is officially declared war, what do you guys want to see from the League of Assassins? I mean, I don't know everyone. I don't know how many people really get their own spotlight in the League. I really only know like Ra's al Ghul and his two daughters. So if there's anyone else that does get a spotlight that you guys might want to see, of course, put that in the comments below. But personally, I just want to see how crazy good he is as a fighter. Like I'm sure he won't come in until way later in the season, but that's what I really want to see is Ra's al Ghul come to the city and have to go up against maybe Oliver and Malcolm at the same time. Who knows? But I'd love to see Ra's al Ghul actually get in on the fight. But of course, comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.